All right, first off, let's take 47 and we're going to graph it on the graphing calculator. Don't pay attention to what's on there now. So get your calculator and let's go to y equals and let's punch it in. Okay, so here we go. 3x to the fourth minus 11x cubed minus x squared plus 19x plus 6. Gosh, it took forever to punch in. Okay. And now I'm going to do a zoom 6 on it, and we're going to look at the graph. Okay. Now, keep in mind what we're doing is we're trying to find the zeros. Now, where do I find the zeros on the graph at? Where it crosses the x-axis, the x-intercepts. Okay. So here's the thing. Instead of guessing and checking what works, how about we look on the graph and see where it crosses and we try those? Does that make sense? Okay, so it's kind of like we're cheating when we look at the graph. It's like we're looking at the answers. Now, let's do this. On some of these, you're going to need to like take a closer look. Now, it looks like it crossed at -1 right there and at +2 and +3, didn't it? Okay, so instead of listing out stuff, those would be the numbers that I would try. Now, I'm going to show you how to find them exactly. Okay, now I'm going to show you what's called a ZBOX. So to draw a ZBOX, that means you're going to take those intercepts and you're going to look in closer at them. You're going to zoom in on them. So the way you do this is you go to the zoom menu and then you choose ZBOX. Okay, and now what a ZBOX is going to do is it's going to draw a rectangle around that, but you're going to draw the rectangle and you're going to be able to see closer in. Now, do y'all see the little blinking thing at the origin? Okay, you can probably barely see it in the back. That's the cursor. And so the cursor draws the box. Now, I'm going to take that cursor, I'm going to move it out to the left and move it up a little bit. All right, so if you couldn't see it, you can definitely see it now. Now, it's not drawing anything now. To start making it draw the rectangle that you're going to zoom in on, you hit enter. So at this point, I'm going to hit enter. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it down and then pull it over, and it's going to give me a window to zoom in on. I'll pull it down and then pull it over. What are we trying to see? Right. All the zeros, all the places where it crosses the x-axis, right? And you probably want to go a little bit further to the left and a little bit further to the right of those points. Now, that's going to capture all 4 of them in. Now, I'm going to hit enter again, and when I hit enter again, it's going to zoom in on that. All right, so now let's see where it's crossing. -1 and what? 2 and 3, right? So, I wonder what I should guess. How about -1? You think -1 would work? Yeah, it's going to work. Okay, and what else is going to work? 2 and 3. Okay, now I still have to show the work, but it's kind of like I already know what the answers are going to be. Okay, now let's do this. I'm not really sure about that one, am I? Okay, so you can tell the nice ones pretty well. Okay, but the ones that aren't really nice, you're going to have to use the 0 command to find them. Okay, so let me show you the 0 command to find out what this one is. It's somewhere in between 0 and -1. Okay, now to find it, you use the calc menu. So you go second, calc, and then take a wild guess which one there. 2, the 0. All right. Now, y'all remember the whole left bound, right bound thing? We're going to go through it again. So now we're talking about, again, this point right here. So again, that's in between 0 and -1. So what would be a left bound? What would be a point to the left of that? Yeah, -1. Okay. And then so I put -1 for my left bound and hit enter. Now, a right bound would be 0. and then guess our negative 0.5. As long as it was in between 0 and negative 1, it wouldn't matter. Okay, so I'll just go with negative 0.5 since somebody said that. Okay, now look what it actually is. Now we've got to realize sometimes we're going to get numbers there that are irrational and rational. Now, this number is rational. How do I know that that's rational? Because it's doing what? Repeating. And really, what is negative 0.3 repeating? 1/3. Actually, it would be what? Negative. I didn't say negative. Negative 1/3. 0.3 repeating is 1/3. 0.6 repeating is 2/3. Okay? Now, and so that's a rational number. Now, so that's one I could do my guessing over here. I could do negative 1/3 and it should work. Now, here's what I'm going to caution you about. If you get some zeros right there, when I say zeros, I'm not talking about the number 0, okay? The actual intercepts. If they're like not repeating and then there's no pattern, that means that they would be irrational. And we can't find the irrational zeros by synthetic division. The irrational ones are going to come from doing the quadratic formula. Okay? So when we guess and check here, we're really not guessing and checking, but when we plug these numbers in, we're only going to plug in the ones or check the ones with synthetic division that are rational. Now, do y'all understand what we mean by rational versus irrational now? Okay? Because you're going to get some of them that are be irrational. So if that was an irrational number here, I would just have to find it at the end. I couldn't find it at first. All right? Now, let's solve this one. And we already know what the answers are, don't we? Well, it's going to be what? Negative 1, negative 1/3, what? Positive 2, and positive 3. Okay, now which one do y'all want to do first? We got to show the work over here. Negative 1. Okay, so we're going to show synthetic division and show how it works here. Okay, and we'll bring down 3. Negative 1 times 3 would be negative 3. Negative 11 and 3 is negative 14. Negative 1 times negative 14 would be 14. Negative 1 and 14 would be 13 times negative 1 is negative 13. 19 minus 13 is 6. 6 times negative 1 is negative 6. So, surprise, surprise, it worked. Okay, so how do you feel about guessing versus the calculator? Y'all probably like guessing and checking, don't you? No? You like guessing and checking as opposed to the calculator? All right. The calculator takes out the guesswork, doesn't it? Okay, so this is what you're going to get on your test. Half of your test you're going to have a calculator, half of it you're not. The ones that you don't have a calculator on are going to be the nicer ones. Okay, so they're not going to be like super. I would never give you this one to do without a calculator. Okay, now let's see, that's one of them. I got to find 3 more. Now, do I need to do another synthetic division on this one? Well, that's to the 4th right there. So this is going to be to the 3rd. So do I need to do another one? Yeah. All right. So what other number do y'all want to do up there? 2. Okay. Right, right. So no more listing out the possibilities and whether a positive and negative is more likely when you have a calculator. Okay. So the calculator takes out the guess and check. You actually know what they are, and all you have to do is show the work. Okay. Now, because it crossed over there at 2. Okay. So what else would have worked? 3. And then this one that we found was what? Negative 1/3 would have worked too. Right. Okay. Now we'll bring down the 3. 2 times 3 is 6. Negative 14 and 6 is negative 8. And then negative 8 times 2 would be negative 16. 13 minus 16 is negative 3. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Surprise, surprise, it worked. Okay, which it should, right? Now, from here, we really don't need to use synthetic division from here, do we? Because this is a quadratic one. Okay, so this would be what? 3x squared minus 8x minus 3 equals 0. Okay, now look at this. How could we solve this quadratic one? You can factor. What? Factors of 9 that subtract to be 8 would be 9 and 1. Now, would I have to split it though? Yeah. Okay. Now, I'm not going to solve this one out, so I can try to get through all three of my examples, okay? But what you're going to get out of this one, the solutions that you're going to get are going to be negative 1/3 and 3, okay, when you solve that one by your factoring, okay? Now, so, y'all liking your graphing calculator? Yeah, I've got an app on my iPad that's even better than the graphing calculator for this. I'll show you if I got time. Now, all right, let's look at this one. All right, let's get this one entered in, okay? All right, 4x to the 4th minus x cubed plus 5x squared minus 2x minus 6. All right, now, if I hit graph, it's going to be that zoomed in version that I had a while ago, right? So I need to start over. So instead of hitting graph, zoom 6. Okay, we want to start off with a fresh graph. Okay, now let's see if we can tell where it's crossing. All right, somewhere close to -1. And where's the other one look like? +1. All right, very good question. All right, shouldn't there be 4 intercepts? Because it's an x to the 4th, right? Now, can somebody, no, it's not multiplicity because it's not snaking through and it's not touching and turning around either, okay? Here's the thing, there are only 2 intercepts on this graph. It is correct. Now, here's the idea. You're going to have 4 solutions, aren't you? 2 of them are on the graph. The other 2 are imaginary. You can't see the imaginary ones on the graph, okay? So I know ahead of time, if I'm going to have 4 and I see 2, the other 2 are going to have to be imaginary, okay? Now, do y'all want to do a ZBOX around these, or can you see them good enough? That's probably good enough. Now, let's do this. That one to the right definitely looks like 1, doesn't it? Okay. Now, this one on the left side, I'm not too sure about it. Okay. So let's find it exactly. It's somewhere close to -1. Okay. So how did I find that again? What was the, and then 0. So that second command. Now, so left bound, -1. You can say -2 and it would be okay. -1, and then right bound, 0. Okay. And now guess anything in between 0 and -1. All right. I'm psychic. I'm gonna guess -0.75. How did I know that? Because I did it in second period. All right. All right. Now, does you need some help getting it? I can come to you if you need me to. Okay. Hang on. All right. So let's talk about what's going to work. -0.75. Now, that's a rational number, isn't it? Because I can write -0.75 how? -3/4. See, what a rational number can be written as a fraction. So there again, if I get some nasty decimals right there, that means that that 0 is an irrational one. And I can't find the irrational ones with synthetic division. I can only find the rational ones. Now, how am I ultimately going to find the imaginary ones? No, let's wait and see. Okay. Well, that was probably too early to ask that question. Now, so we know what 1's going to work and -3/4 is going to work, right? So what do y'all want to start with? 1. All right. So you see how your calculator is telling you what to use synthetically? And all you have to do is just do the synthetic division to show the work. 8 times 1 is 8. That'd be 6. That'd be 6. Okay. Now, I need to do another synthetic division, though. Okay. So let's see. I wonder what I should use. -3/4, right? So bring down 4. Yeah, you could. All right, negative 3/4 times 4 would be negative 3, 0, 0. All right, negative 3/4 times 8. You can say 4 goes into 8 2 times, be negative 6. Okay. Now here's the thing, y'all. Look, listen. We ran out of real ones, don't we? So we have to get the imaginary ones on our own. Now, here's our equation: 4x squared plus 8 equals 0. Solving this one is how we're going to find the imaginary ones. Okay. Now notice it's a quadratic. Now don't factor it because you're missing the linear term. Could I just subtract 8, divide by 4, and do the square root? Okay, I could use the square root method. All right. So let's subtract 8. See, don't factor into the quadratic formula when you see a better way like this. Okay. Right. So you get x squared. Now y'all going to see where the imaginary ones are coming from. Okay. We're going to take the square root of both sides. And so the square root of negative 2 would be imaginary with me. How do we write that? Plus or minus I squared root of 2. Okay. Now let's list out our answers. So from the calculator, we kind of cheated and we got 1, and then negative 3/4, and then plus or minus I square root of 2. That's 4 of them, right? Okay. All right. Let's go to this next one. All right. Let's get this next one entered in. I'm going to have to rush through this one. All right. Probably not going to be able to finish it. 2x to the 5th plus 7. I do that all the time. All right. Plus 7x to the 4th minus 18x squared. Now, did y'all notice that we skipped a term right there? So in our synthetic division, that means we're going to have to fill in a 0. All right, now I'm going to do zoom 6. Okay. Now this one's all kinds of crazy looking. Now I think a ZBOX is probably going to be necessary on this one. Okay. So let's do a ZBOX around this area right here. Okay. So how did I do that? What? Zoom. And then ZBOX. Now, let's draw our little box around it here. Enter, pull it down, and then over. Okay. Now, are y'all okay drawing this ZBOX? If not, y'all say something and I'll come help you. Okay. All right, and hit enter again. It's really slow when it draws that. Now, so look, yeah, looks like what, negative 2, somewhere in between negative 2 and negative 1, and then what, somewhere in between 0 and 1 and 1 and 2. Okay. Now, what that one where it's at negative 2, it's just touching it and turning around. What does that tell you? Multiplicity. So negative 2 is going to work twice because it touches it and turns around. Okay, so remember, if it touches it and turns around, that's an even multiplicity. What's the other multiplicity where you'd have like 3? What does it do there? Yeah, it snakes through. Okay, so if I had one that snakes through, that means that that number would work 3 times. Okay, but negative 2 there should work twice. Okay, now if this is x to the 5th, how many synthetic divisions am I going to need though? 3. Okay, so I can get 2 of them from that negative 2. Now let's look at these other numbers though. Okay, let's see what this one is right there. That one that's in between negative 1 and negative 2. Okay, so a second calc 0. Right, so what can I do for this one here as a left bound? Yeah, negative 2. Okay, yeah, right bound negative 1. And guess Yeah, negative 1.5. Okay, now let's see what it actually is. Okay, now, does that look like that's going to turn into a nice fraction there? Now, what kind of number is this? It's irrational. So can I use synthetic division to get that one? No. That one's probably going to come from doing the quadratic formula at the end of the problem. Okay, so let's not use that one. Let's go over here and try to use that one. Okay, so that one is in between 0 and 1, isn't it? All right, so let's do it again. Second, calc, 0. All right, so if I'm looking for this one, all right, right there, y'all tell me a left bound and a right bound. What? 0, okay, 1, and then guess, yeah, 0.5. All right, now is that a nice one? Yeah, what 0.5 is really 1/2. All right, so the ones I'm going to do is I'm going to do -2 twice, and then I'm going to do 1/2. All right, now you want to do the -2 first. Do it a couple times. So let's try -2. Y'all sure y'all don't want to like guess and check on these? Okay, just check it. All right, so here we go. Bring down the 2. -2 times 2 would be -4. 7 minus 4 is 3. Times -2 is -6. -24 times -2 is 48. So that'd be 40. Wait a minute, I'm messing up somewhere. Oh, yeah. Dang, the very thing I told y'all to watch for, I did wrong, didn't I? All right. What did I leave off? 0. Let me start over. I did that on purpose. All right. So here we go. -2. All right. So 2, 7, 0, -18, -8, 8. All right. So here we go. 2 times -2 is -4. 7 minus 4 is 3. Times -2 is -6. It'd be +12. It'd be -6. +12. Be what? 4? Yeah, +4 times -2 is -8. Okay. Now, what did we say that we do again here? -2 again. And again, I knew it was going to work twice because I know what multiplicity looks like on the graph, don't I? Okay. Now, let's bring down the 2. 2 times -2 is -4. 3 minus 4 is -1. And -2 is 2. -4 times -2 will be 8. It'll be 2 times -2 is -4. Okay. Now, all right. So we got -2 worked a couple times. Now the other one we said that would work would be 1/2. All right. Bring down the 2. All right. Half of 2 would be 1. -1 and 1 would be 0. Half times 0 would be 0. -4 and 0 is -4. Half of -4 would be -2. Okay. Now, you remember this one a while ago? What that one was? Like, yeah, it's like a nasty number. What? We're going to get that from solving this one that's left over. Okay. So now this one's that's left over would be what? 2x squared minus 4. All right, now we can use the square root method. Okay, so we'd add 4. So you get x squared equals 2. And then take the square root of both sides. So we get plus or minus the square root of 2. Now you remember that 1.4 number or whatever? That's what square root of 2 is. Okay? So here's the thing. We're not going to be able to get a number like that off the graph, are we? Okay. It's going to come from the quadratic formula or, like in this case, solving a quadratic equation. Okay. So you sure y'all don't want to guess and check? Okay. Right. So, and the idea of the reason why I could use -2 twice is because I saw multiplicity on the graph. Okay. Now, so here again, what's going to happen on your test is you're going to have some problems that'll be on the easier side, the easier ones, I'm not going to let you use your calculator on, okay? But the harder ones, like especially ones that are to the fourth and fifth powers, you use your calculator to get the roots. Now, understand, you still have to show the work, okay? But what the calculator told me, those three answers, didn't they? I just had to know how to do it on the calculator. Let's do this. Since I got time, I finished a lot faster with you guys. Let's go back to number 47 where we left this one off, okay? So what I just left it with, what we said 3 times 3 would be 9. All right, factors of 9 that subtract to be 8 would be 9 and 1. Okay, what about my signs here? What? Right. All right, now, so let's see, let's group them. So what can I get out of this first group here? 3x, all right, that'd leave me with x minus 3. And then factor out of 1, that would leave me with x minus 3. Yeah, so we get x minus 3 times 3x plus 1. Okay, so now let's start listing out our zeros. 3 and negative 1/3. Now, y'all remember getting those on the graph earlier? Okay, now what were the other ones? Negative 1 and 2. Okay, now, all right, let's do this. Let's go ahead